It's me, John Laval. Listen, you probably heard in the news that the European Union has four countries defaulting on their debts. And you've probably noticed in the past the United States is also a country that's the banks don't want them to print money because they don't qualify. Their debt is too high. In the States, it's about $100 trillion, and they can't actually pay the interest, but they need to print more money because employment issues and stuff like that. And the banks will always lend money to, say, the European Union, the four countries. You know why? And the United States, so you never have to worry about whether they're going to come through or not. I mean, they let this thing dangle on the news for, a month of. In fact, the European Union still hasn't come up with an agreement, but they will agree to lend the money. And the reason being is they don't have any choice. And you're saying, well, why would they not have any choice? Well, if you've lent them already so much money they can't pay it back, what's going to happen if you don't give them more money? They're going to default on the original debt, and the bank can't afford to eat that debt. It's too much money. So what they have to do is keep lending them money and keep the country going on the hope that they can get some of their money back, so much money on the dollar, and that's all they can do. But the problem is eventually it'll come to an end where they can't lend any more money. The bank will become too weak because it's putting out more than it's taking in, and which is fine if it's regularly coming in. It works out, but the countries will just get weaker and weaker and pay less debt, and the banks will be paying them more, digging them out and paying them more and more, so the country can keep going. But eventually it'll come to a gridlock where the banks will collapse. Not today, but one day it will, because the principle doesn't work. Credit really doesn't work. It's a wonderful thing. The Bible says a statement. You may not be religious, but the statement has some truth to it. So it says that, it refers to a man. A man should always pay his debt within 1 year. Because it becomes like a sin past that point. And what it's really saying is that if a debt runs longer than a year, there's a chance you may not be able to pay it back, because you should never borrow more money than you can pay back within 1 year. And these countries are borrowing money that they can't pay back in 1 year, so the system will eventually collapse. Because debt can't run forever. So credit's a good idea if you can pay the money back within a reasonable amount of time. And the problem with credit is while you're paying this debt back, you're spending more and more money. So you're just accumulating more debt, and the banks are quite happy to collect the interest off it all, but don't realize at the end of the page, the principle doesn't work. When my father was, when I was young, my father and everybody, there were no such thing as credit cards. They saved their money, and they bought a car whenever they had the money, or they had most of it, and maybe get a bank loan, which is credit. But that bank loan was all set out at a certain rate, and one knew whether they could pay that monthly. But today, I mean, credit cards, shit, people got 20 credit cards. They're using credit cards to pay credit cards, and basically the countries are saying, can you increase our spending rate on our credit cards? And the banks are worried because they can't pay back what they already owe, and anyways, eventually it won't work, and the banks will collapse. But right now, I guess we're all right for a little while.